Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Business Builder Podcast with Justin Gates, aka Brother Juice. I am the host, and with me today is the one and only, the man himself, Mr. Jerry Coleman. Jerry, thank you so much for coming, man. Again,
Thank you, Justin, for having
I was
me.
actually late, so that was my fault. Jerry is a gracious man. He waited for me. I know you're very busy. I know you have a lot of stuff on your plate. You are the Small Business Director for Cape Fear Community College.
Correct.
What does that mean? Because you wear a lot of hats, my man.
You know, I tell people all the time, I've got the best job at the community college. I get to help people every day realize that dream of starting a small business. So it's a very rewarding opportunity that I have here in the community. But just a little background about the Small Business Center network and what we do. It's actually been around for a long time. Many people don't realize, but we've been doing what we do since 1984. So, you know, we're going on. This is our 40th anniversary, actually.
Oh,
so
wow! Congratulations,
yeah.
man.
So we've been doing this for a while. But back in the early 80s, the state legislature, I think a very smart move, primarily to support rural communities. But the thought being, if we could help businesses get started, we help create jobs and we create economic opportunity in those more rural communities. And then over the years, it's expanded to be statewide, and there's a small business center at every community college in the state. So again, that mission has continued to move forward of, you know, whatever we can do to help businesses plan, start, and grow, creates opportunities in the state of North Carolina and in our local communities. And I don't think there's any doubt about it that the state of North Carolina, we do lead the country in new business starts.
Really?
We do.
I didn't know that, but I believe it because even here in Wilmington, just when I got here, good grief, man, the amount of people that are starting businesses. And of course, I came through your office, and when people were talking about starting a business, I always say, have you talked to Jerry Coleman yet? You know, and I tell everybody that doesn't know about it, I was like, you have to. I was like, look, Jerry probably has 99% of new business startups in this town have probably sat and talked to you, and that's not even a gross exaggeration. I think
it's probably not that percentage, but we do talk to a lot of folks. You know, here's the thing: there are a lot of wonderful resources in Wilmington, the Cape Fear area, to support small businesses. Mm-hmm. So you have the Small Business Center. But you also have the Small Business Technology Development Center at UNCW. Right. They're actually sister organizations to the Small Business Center network. They're at the universities, we're at the community colleges.
Okay.
But we have SCORE, Senior Corps of Retired Executives. We have...
Oh, what is that?
So let me tell you more about SCORE. Senior Corps of Retired Executives. So you have folks, this is volunteer organization, 100% volunteer. They must have 30 or 40 mentors in the region.
Really?
And these folks have spent careers, you know, whether it's in finance or retail or logistics or engineering or whatever those career opportunities were, and now they're volunteering their time and giving back. So if I'm talking to someone about they're looking at starting a logistics business, perhaps I'm not the expert in that space, but I could pull in a SCORE mentor who is, that's spent a career there, right? So again, part of what we do at Small Business Center is connect people to resources as well. We don't always have the answers, right? So we look for resources for folks that do. So SCORE is a great resource. They partner with us on seminars and things like that, workshops, and again, joint counseling opportunities. We have Channel, which is powered by Live Oak Bank. We have the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. We have New Network for Entrepreneurs Wilmington. You may have met Jim Roberts.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of those events. Yeah, those are really good events.
Yeah, so you've got the Chambers of Commerce. So point being, there are a lot of resources in the community to help small businesses. Mm-hmm. So it's not just a Small Business Center. I like to say we connect with a lot of 99%, but it takes all of us working in an ecosystem to make those things happen. And I think we really do have a strong ecosystem here to support small business.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I was blown away by how many moving parts there are, you know, but glad to see that there are. And I'm not sure I knew about the SCOREs there. That's a really good resource.
So lots of resources. And again, a little bit about our connection with the community college as well. So we're a vocational training institution at Cape Fear Community and all the community colleges. all those trades programs, HVAC, plumbing, cosmetology, barbering, truck driving, a lot of those folks that go through those programs get those certifications and start their own businesses one day. So we talked to a lot of those classes about entrepreneurship and business planning and things like that. They may not start when they finish the program, but they might certainly be there one day, and then they know they've got a resource in the community that they can come to and help them along the way.
That's fantastic, man. Well, it was about as information-packed an intro as I've ever had. So I know we got the questions here. Let's look at these.
Okay, sure.
Because again, my printer decided it's not going to have ink today, but luckily Jerry's got them printed.
See, as entrepreneurs, we just wing things.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I don't have the device just yet, but I like having paper so I can write notes. And just like you do. So we have what's the number one reason businesses fail in the first year, and how can entrepreneurs avoid it?
Yeah, common question that we get a lot of times, and I guess the overarching cause I would probably argue would be lack of planning. So I have this quote, a business starts with an idea, success begins with a plan, right? So you really have to have a plan. But specifically, the reason that businesses probably don't make, and it's probably not the first year, it's probably within the first 5 years, it's probably more realistic. But it's cash flow management or lack thereof, really knowing your numbers. I have found that businesses that I've talked to, if they've been in business for a while, and first question I'll always ask them is, how's your business doing? And if they can't answer that question, it's a red flag that they don't understand the financials and how their business is doing month over month. So I'd say the primary reason is that lack of understanding the cash flow management of the business. People tend to underestimate what their expenses are going to be and overestimate what their revenue is going to be. And the real challenge there is, if you got a business and you've got customers, it's finding customers and selling your products and services.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you overestimate what that's going to look like, and you've got this overhead that you're trying to offset, you're kind of back. You're not where you really need to be. So I think we always want to start with a plan and think through all those elements and what it is we do and what our mission is, and then how we go about the operation of the business. But that's what bites folks a lot is underestimating and not knowing what their financial situation is. And that's another reason why small business centers do what we do.
Right.
You can't be an expert at everything as a small business owner.
Sure.
You wear all the hats, right? But maybe you're not an expert in everything. So we have all kinds of workshops to try to help in those space, help people sharpen their saw on, basics of accounting. And we just did a workshop just this past week on record keeping. How do you keep records, money coming in and out of your business, so that you can know, how things are going.
You got to know that. I mean,
you got to pay taxes too. So if you don't know how much money you got coming in, how much you're going out, how do you know how much tax you need to pay, right? So anyway, so I think that's probably a leading cause of what gets people most often. Here's the other thing too, and this was actually kind of shocking to me, but back during COVID, some of the data that came out. So during COVID, restaurants couldn't go. Service-based businesses like yours,
shut down.
You couldn't do what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, we're shut down.
One of a statistic that really blew me away was that most small businesses, I think it was like 60% of small businesses, have less than a 60-day cash reserve. So what happens if you get shuttered for
10 months?
10 months or even longer, and you've exhausted your reserve? You're done, really, in most cases, right? And so again, back to planning, back to kind of preparing for those kind of things is something that we try to help with too. We call it being a resilient business, or really be forward looking and have plans to what's going to get you through that situation, like COVID, or think about Helene down in the western part of the state.
I mean, yeah.
The hurricanes we've experienced here. There's all kinds of the financial crisis of, in the late '90s or 2008. I guess
2008.
Early 2000s. Those things are going to happen. That's just, it's going to happen. So you got to be prepared for it. And that's, again, back to planning, and that's probably what we'll talk a lot about today.
Right.
Keep going back to that. But
yeah, I mean, there does seem to be a thing that comes up. I mean, there's a young gentleman. We were at that 1 Million Cups event, right?
Yeah.
There was a young kid in there who is a clothing designer. He's got a clothing brand.
Yeah.
And he says he wants a brick and mortar store. And I was like, okay, that's a great. And he says, he's like, 5 to 10 years. I said, good. But I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you don't really need it, though. To do what you do, he doesn't really need that. I was like,
right.
Man, that is a lot of overhead expense. And then to have inventory and store it and keeping you paying rent on a space, I'm like, you don't need that to survive.
Yeah, if you're starting a business, it's you want to keep your overhead really low to start, right? So if you could test the market, clothing. If you're talking about clothing brands, and
you can do all that online.
You can do it online, and it's a very competitive space, right? Because of that. So I think that's an area that we would counsel on really being cautious, just to your point.
Yeah.
Keep your overhead low, test the market, build your brand over time, and then look at that brick and mortar as an opportunity. But that's got to be down the road.
Right. I mean, that would have to be a supply and demand thing. I mean, I wouldn't start there. I would.
Got to be careful.
Especially if it's going to be like a lifestyle brand, you have to build that community first.
Yeah.
That it's a community that's going to buy from you, over the long term.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you had to start a business from scratch with zero capital, what would be your first move? I guess get capital.
Well, I think bootstrapping is really important. So if you're going to start something, you want to start. If you could do it yourself out of your own pocket, that's always better than borrowing money and getting yourself, potentially in a bind really early. So I think if you're starting something, you really want to. One of the first questions I'll ask a client when they come in is, what's your background and experience, and what is your skill set, right? What credentials do you have, right? And you start there, and maybe it's consulting services or being an influencer and doing podcasting, right?
There's that word again.
But yeah, leveraging skills and experience, background. We see a lot of most businesses that are started today are they're older people. They've already had a career probably, so they're 50 in their 50s
or 60s
or getting ready to early retire, right? Looking to do something different, and a lot of times they're leveraging that experience that they've gotten. And so I think that's where you start is leveraging those types of resources, and then doing it with low overhead. Testing the market first.
I think that's a big key point. That you really, as far as new entrepreneurs anyway, is that most of them don't know how to do that. They don't really understand what it means to test the market. They just have an idea and they run with it, right? And there's something to be said about dogged determination, but you have to kind of grow and evolve too and learn, because if you don't, you're gonna sink. And so I do really believe in testing the market. I mean, that's what I did when I first opened up. There was a demand, but I did test the market on a small way. Yeah.
Can I do what I want to do? Is there a need to do what I want to do? And if you could test that out and kind of prove that concept out first, and that kind of can be that springboard for officially launching. But I like a slow, take it slow.
Yeah.
Be careful about having debt right out of the gate, and if you can bootstrap it, that's probably the best way to go for the first couple of years. In fact, the bank's not going to lend to you anyway.
They won't. Yeah, that's funny, because banks are like, if you need money and don't have it, they're not going to lend it to you.
So back to that cash flow piece we were talking about earlier. That's what they're going to look at.
Yes.
Does the business generate cash flow that they can look at and see that this is how those resources are going to be paid back. Otherwise, it's going to be you.
Yeah.
It's you anyway. So.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
So it brings us down to this one. I guess this is kind of a different way of stating that, but the biggest mistake you see first-time business owners making, and what they should, do instead would, planning, test the market, think about the debt or lack thereof.
Yeah, I think that biggest mistake is planning again. The failure to plan and really think through all the elements of a business, and that's where we, for a startup and people that come into, and another mistake is not taking advantage of the resources in the community.
That's true, and if they don't know, and that's why I wanted you on, because again,
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that people understood that, because we're in Wilmington, North Carolina, and man, there is much more going on here than I even know about, and I am one of the small businesses, and I did come through your office. I went through the SBTDC.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah.
We got all these.
So taking advantage of those resources, they're free. It's a great resource. So taking advantage of that. But more granularly, planning, yes, we need to do that. But I think a lot of folks try to be all things to all people.
That's
right?
a mistake.
They think they can sell to everybody.
Yeah, you can't.
So
everybody's not your customer.
Everybody's not your customer, and that's really hard. So I think if you can be really targeted and focused, have that niche that you're really good at, and you have a target audience that you can service their need, you can fix their problem, right? You've got the solution for them. Gives you leverage to go and target them specifically through social media and things like that, through your internet presence.
Yeah.
So again, there's never just one thing here, but being targeted, being focused. In my business, manufacturing business, we manufacture tools and fasteners for the wood flooring industry. Very competitive industry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, big players in that industry, but we targeted in on the do-it-yourself market.
Right.
So rental, distribution. So if you wanted to put in a hardwood floor over the weekend as a project, you could go rent our tool at the local rental supply house. You could buy the nail for the flooring, and you could do the project yourself, right? So we were very focused in on that do-it-yourselfer and helping them. The way our tools were designed was very do-it-yourself, very user-friendly. So I think being targeted, being focused. Did we sell into other channels of distribution? Yeah, we sold into the wood flooring channel. We sold into the big fastener channels, but our real core focus was that do-it-yourself
market. You just kind of stayed in the lane there. What did the evolution of that look like then? Because that's like, because that was, how many years ago was that?
Yeah, so I had that business for 20 plus years. I sold it in 2011, and that's kind of when I was too young to be retired. Now to that earlier question, do this. What can I do, right? Yeah. So leveraging skills and experience, I kind of worn all the hats. I felt, I could do some business consulting, leadership development stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the path I ended up taking after that, and then ended up at Cape Fear Community College. So that's sort of the quick and dirty there. But yeah, for sure. But
that takes, again, knowledge of your market, knowledge of your customer, who your customer is, what they mm-hmm. need, what their needs and wants are, and then you guys are so in touch with that you could just fill it.
Yeah.
And it was an easy, so it makes the choice easy for the consumer. And it's like, okay, this is meant for me. It solves my immediate problem.
So as a business owner, that's really important. It's what problem are you solving for your customer? Mm-hmm. That's what you need to focus on, right? That's the key here. They've got a problem and you've got the solution.
Right.
You got to fix it for them.
Well, all right, since we've been talking about funding, let's just skip that one because that one's the same thing as before. But mm-hmm. this one here, what are the smartest ways to secure funding without drowning in debt?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Or, have a rich uncle.
Have a rich uncle, yeah. No, but we talked about bootstrapping earlier. I think that's really important. And it's hard, if you're trying to start a business and you don't have the resources, maybe you don't have the ability to bootstrap. It does make it difficult. So again, starting slowly, being planned about your approach. There are resources that we could certainly look at for a small business. I'm not going to say there aren't any. There are some grants out there. They're hard to come by.
They are a bit hard to come by.
Unless you're a nonprofit organization, but they're out there. Right. So NC IDEA is they do grants, 2 grant cycles each year.
But that's competitive.
Well, that's the thing about grants is they're always going to be competitive.
Yeah.
So there'll be a grant cycle. You apply for the grant, and there'll be hundreds of others applying for those grants, and then they'll award 4 or 5. And so it is very competitive. It's hard to come by. So, and then securing capital, borrowed money from a bank is going to be hard because you don't have that track record of success yet.
Right. Yeah.
Now there are other options that we can bring to the table. We call them CDFIs, which stands for Community Financial Development Institutions. They're nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
But their mission is to help small business.
Really?
Right.
I don't think I've ever heard of those.
Yeah,
before.
CDFI. So Carolina Small Business Development Fund, Carolina Community Impact, Partner Community Capital, Self-Help Credit Union. There are several that are CDFIs that will lend to a startup. But still, you have to, again, back to the plan, right? You have to have a plan. You have to have those financials,
You got to show them how you're going to get the money back.
You got to show them. They're going to take a risk, perhaps, and they need to understand. They're going to look at you in your background and experience. Do you have the knowledge, the experience to execute on this plan? So if all those things kind of fall in line, you got to have collateral. You still have to follow the basic principles of borrowing money. So you got to have, you got to have some skin in the game. You've got to have collateral. You've got to have, show good stewardship with your own money with a good, solid credit score.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't have to be stellar, but it needs to be pretty solid. So those same core principles that a conventional bank will look at, a CDFI is going to look at too. But again, they're going to be more flexible, more willing to work with you. So we do have resources like that. Then again, there are grants that we can look at too. There's crowdfunding solutions. So there are opportunities to secure capital.
About the crowdfunding, because that's something I've been interested in, but man, I don't understand much about it. I mean, it's easy to understand. It's like crowdfunding, yeah, because you're getting funded by the community that wants to support you.
Yeah.
But have you seen a lot of success with that? And
not, there has been some. You have to tell a story, right? You have to have sort of a causation around what you're doing. Tell a story that inspires people to want to
give money to you.
So there are programs out there. There's organizations like LISC, which is Local Initiative Support Corporation, but they'll partner with like American Express and Lowe's and those type of organizations that will offer grants to small businesses. Walmart and other large corporations will often, and LISC is the organization that funnels those grants to small businesses. But again, there's limited resource. A lot of people are trying to take advantage of that, and the chances of getting them are slim. Of course, if you don't try, then
never hurts to ask.
If you're a woman-owned business or a minority-owned business, there's it's called Amber grants. So that's something you can look at too. So there are opportunities out there for them.
I have some friends in the networking group that I'm in, and it's trade-based business, right? So it's a husband and wife team, and she does all the back end and admin stuff, and he does all the plumbing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what they ran into was they have the opposite problem. They did bootstrap out of the garage, and that's still where they're at. So they're at a place now where the demand for the service outstrips their ability to meet the need of the demand. So they're like, we need people.
Yeah, right.
We need 2 more trucks and 2 more crews. Yeah. So I say it's good to have that problem, but I think also too for younger people, maybe not young people, but people who are starting a business, if you can go into a sector or an area where there is a vast need and meet that need, you will get the income problem is solved, right? It'll be a staffing problem for you at that point.
Yeah, so that's growth. Growth can be hard. It can be, so that and creates more challenges. And some people might say, you know what, I'm just comfortable doing what we're doing without doing that, right?
Oh yeah.
But again, planning, preparing for that growth, and I would say if they feel like I would again be cautious and conservative, and so maybe we're pushing up against that need, that demand, and we feel like if we don't do it right away, we're going to be in trouble. I'd say give it 6 months just to make sure that that demand is holding true, and then over that time, make sure you got your cash flow and your reserves in place to be able to support that additional.
Right.
Because so it's one thing to support the demand, but if you're adding people, those people need to add revenue, right?
Yep.
So they've got to have value add.
Yeah. If you're bringing somebody on,
if they don't, then what have you got?
Yeah.
You've got additional overhead.
Yep.
That's draining your business profitability. So if you're going to add somebody, what is the added value? Or is that salary going to bring in, how much additional revenue will that bring in? That's how you have to look at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh yeah, AI stuff. Oh yeah. So.
The new industrial revolution is AI.
Yeah. So where do you see this going, man?
It's not going away.
Sure.
AI is here to stay, and we're in the very infant stages of what it's going to do. It levels the playing field for a small business.
Absolutely.
So now you've got tools, like you say, that can help you look like a big business. It's a way to help keep your overhead low. So instead of hiring somebody to do social media posting for you, use AI to do the posting.
Yeah, you can do a lot. I mean,
I was gonna say you can do in 10 seconds you can create a really good social media post about your business.
Whatever you want.
It's a holiday, you want to post something, you need a blog post for your LinkedIn profile. It's going to do the wordsmithing for you.
Yeah.
And it should say what you need for it to say.
Yeah, it's got to match your messaging and your branding.
You got to create the objective here, right? But yeah.
Do you know there are whole YouTube channels that are AI automated that are getting, millions and they're monetized.
Yeah.
So people are doing a fully faceless YouTube channel with AI generated videos, and they're monetized.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much they're making.
Yeah.
But
for a small business, it really is a tool that you can leverage to help keep your costs down. And I think it's getting more powerful. We use it all the time at the Small Business Center. So if somebody's coming in and they're thinking about starting some small cleaning service, we can use AI to help develop a framework of a plan, so that they have they can see it right there. This is what a plan framework should be for your type of business.
yeah.
So it's really a great tool for
Because that used to take days to think of, unless you have somebody like yourself who's got the years of experience.
It demystifies it, and it gives you something tangible that you can look at right away, and then it's easy for them to go away from that meeting and start.
Right, and they can implement because they have something to do.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people they have the idea, but they don't. You have the dreamers and the visionaries, and then you have the detail people, and nary the two meet. Right. So AI kind of bridges that gap.
Right.
So if you're a dreamer, you got to have a solid plan.
You were talking about the video and the capability there. Search engine optimization is really important for a website. And the more content that you can put on that website, new fresh content, those algorithms will start grabbing it, right?
That's why I do this.
That's why you do this. But to create using AI to create a little 10, 20-second video clip about your business and drop that right on your social media feeds as well as your website, it's going to help improve that search engine optimization.
Yeah, and now
you're not having to go spend thousands of dollars to create something. You can do it right here.
Yeah, it is. It really does. It lowers the barrier of entry, like by degrees, like exponentially. It's not just by it really lowers the barrier of entry.
Yeah.
I had something, I forgot it. Doesn't matter. So let's see. No. I mean, does anything stand out? I mean, it's talking about tools here, but does anything stand out as if you're talking about this with people who are either recent startups or people who are coming in with ideas? Is there a go-to AI tool or tool set that you go to, or is it just more like, okay, needs based?
You know, I think we're going to just see more and more of it. You know, I think, AI, ChatGPT,
Right.
Jasper are going to be your more.
I'm not familiar with Jasper.
The more common ones today. Google's got a good. There's going to be. There'll be a lot of them as we.
It's going to be like
DeepSeek is the latest thing that's kind of come out.
That one scares me. Some of them are scary.
We're just going to see more of it. And businesses that are using AI within their own organizations to from chat, features and things like that. So you really can create your own AI learning platform within your own business too. So I think
that's a wise thing to do. Anything that you can, if it's a repetitive low level task, something like auto responding, for example.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I haven't set up yet. And I miss leads sometime because something comes in, and I really need that auto respond to kind of do that.
So I think we just don't know what all it's going to be able to do, but it's something we need to embrace. And there'll be obviously the negative stuff that's already out there, but there's a lot of positive things that can be used for sure.
So before we jump into the next section there, I want to talk about like successes, so businesses or people that you've seen come through who have pretty big successes, like they went from 0 to maybe a 7-figure business over a number of, I know there's not a bunch of them, but those ones who did make it, what were the common traits that they shared?
I had a client, I can't give any specific details, but they were in the mental health space, psychology space. Had been working in a practice, but was unsatisfied and unhappy, and felt like that they could do a better job doing their own thing again.
Right.
Kind of to that earlier conversation around tapping your skills and expertise and things. So decided to go out on her own. They were very specific, very niche focused, helping children and families with autism.
That is
very niche and focused. Started out as just themselves, one person, but quickly got to the point where the demand was more than that they could manage.
Right.
So the question becomes, okay, how do we, at what point do I start hiring the extra, therapist or whatever to come on board? And so we took the approach of, okay, well, what if we had $30,000 of reserve money in the bank? From a risk perspective, would that make you feel comfortable hiring that next person? In other words, we hire that therapist, we can bring in more clients, but we also want to make sure we got enough money to get to that point. So we started out from a budgeting perspective of, let's get 30,000, hire the next person. Get to 60,000, hire the third person, and kind of that strategy. So went from a couple people to 50 people in 2 years.
Wow, that's pretty strong growth.
So pretty strong growth. Now, need in the market, obviously, being strategic, having a strategic plan, providing really good service, and creating more demand. Timing, all those things matter. But being, I think, taking it slow, setting goals, meeting those goals, taking action, keep moving the ball forward.
Right.
She was able to create some exponential change in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
Was that challenging?
Oh yeah.
Was it all rosy?
No.
I had 50 employees in my manufacturing business.
Oh, man.
That is hard.
Yeah.
It creates all kinds of challenges. And there's good, and there's the other stuff too. But now you're a person, so leadership training, leadership skills.
Yeah.
What things do you need to do differently personally to be able to lead an organization of that size that quickly. So again, we had to sharpen that saw, get some leadership development in place to support her and her team and that management team and stuff too. And that's another thing we do at the community college. We have, we not only have the small business center, but we also have customized and corporate training as well. So if you're an organization and you need to train your leadership team or your management team, conflict resolution, all those things, we can provide specific training for that as well.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, because
so we leveraged all that in this case too. So.
Right. Well, because you had to, because I mean, going from a one-person outfit to then hiring people, you got 50 people. Well, now where you started, to get to that point here, you can't do the same thing anymore, because now you have to have a hierarchical structure in place, because you got employees and people want to know who's the boss. There needs to be a chain of command. There's got to be roles that are filled, and everybody.
Systems and operational best practices have to be there. And HR, all those things have to be in place, and that doesn't just happen overnight.
No.
So when you grow that quick, you've got challenges that have to be put into place, and so that's an exciting example, but it's there are challenges associated with it too.
I like this one. How can the small business build a loyal customer base even when competing with the big dogs?
Yeah, I think that's the advantage of a small business.
Yeah, me too.
You're nimble. You can react quickly. You can personalize and tailor your service to your, we talked about that target customer.
Mm-hmm.
I think Disney was probably the best at this, but it's creating an experience for your customer that wows them.
Yeah.
You just want to create an experience for people. When you create an experience that's positive, you take care of their needs, you solve their problem, you up it this much every time, this much, you keep upping it just a little bit. That's what makes you different.
Yeah. Yeah, they remember that.
They remember it. You create a memory, and they'll tell all their people, all their friends about the service that they got from you. And it all matters. I mean, it all matters. You walk into somebody's shop, is it clean? Is the door clean?
Yes. Do you have a sign?
Is there any trash outside the doorway? You walk into the restaurant, is it clean? Is it, are you greeted when you walk in the door, or when you call somebody on the phone? What's the experience that you're creating for your customer? And that's where a small business, I think, can really outshine those big guys.
Yeah, because you're right. They can respond faster, or they should be able to.
Exceptional service, and it all matters. All the little stuff matters, and if all those things you can put into place to take care of your customer and to really create a positive experience for them pays dividends.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, what do you think the secret to getting the first-time customer into a lifelong customer, and perhaps even a brand advocate? Have you heard of the 1,000 True Fans? You ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
There was a guy back in, I think it was the 90s or early 2000s, a dude named Kevin Kelly. He was a technologist, but he wrote an article back before all this kind of stuff was cool, called the 1,000 True Fans. And what he was saying is that in the new economy, right, the online economy, where we're talking about how you can be a little player and play against the big boys. He goes, you can make a six-figure income if you have 1,000 true fans. He's like, and he took the example of a musician. It's like, hey, you're a musician. You got 1,000 true fans who are going to buy $100 worth of stuff from you per year. Well, that's $100,000. So you go to a show that might be $20 for a ticket. You sell a T-shirt, that's $20. You put out, back then it was a CD. Now everything's streaming, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
like if you sell a CD, it's another 20, right? They might buy some other merch from you. So the 1,000 true fans, like philosophy, is how you support yourself in the online space. Even if you're somebody who delivers like a service or a product, right? If you have those 1,000 true fans, you're going to be able to sustain.
You're golden, right?
Yeah. So, and that's kind of what this reminds me of. It's like, okay, but what do you think the best practice is? We talked about the service, obviously, the exceptional service, making the experience. Anything else stand out?
Well, loyalty programs, to that point, you're rewarding them for buying from you, incentivizing them to come back, offering things to them that kind of like what you're doing with the podcast and giving back and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. That's how you create. I haven't heard that. I call them raving fans.
Yeah.
They're so delighted with what you do and how you do it.
Right.
That they're telling everybody else about you and what you do and how you help them. You know, big part of our, we always have somebody when they come in our office, how'd you hear about us? Mm-hmm. And, 9 times out of 10, it's a referral.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's all,
Even now?
It's all referrals, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's good, but it's because I know you guys are out there, right? I mean, I know there's the email campaign is strong, right? Because once you get on that list, you're getting all the stuff, right? Well, I mean, but again, I wanted those things because you guys put on seminars. There's always training going on. I've been to several of them.
Right.
I mean, you talked about Disney. Was it you guys or was it somebody else that had the Disney guy come in and talk?
It was us.
Okay, yeah, and that was, I bought the book, and the philosophy of that was fantastic.
Right.
And it was
true. It's true for any business.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm thinking of it going, well, how can I make it a magical experience at a gym where people punch each other?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know how to translate that, but I'll keep thinking of it. But just the idea of it, the philosophy of it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, right.
And obviously, when you take it to the level of profession that Disney did, you can see that it works. So they're not just talking a bunch of nonsense, right? This is the practice that they use to get there.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I think that's that's your goal. If you can create those raving fans, put yourself in a position that they're gonna talk about you to somebody else. That's the key, right? It really is.
Yeah, have you ever?
And we always have to. So back to planning. So if we're doing all those right things, we start thinking about, okay, what are the ways in which we can ensure that we make profit? Well, we got to have ways of lead generation. We got to create leads, right, with our website and our social media.
Yeah.
We're doing podcasts, whatever those things are to generate leads for your business.
Right.
We got to do those. We got to convert them.
Yeah.
We got to turn them into a customer, right? So you got to have some knowledge, awareness of, what's your conversion rate for your lead generation. You got to have, an average sale per client. What's our average dollar sale per client? We want to look at how do we create multiple sales per client? What's going to get them to come back, or can we upsell, or can we do other things? And then we have the whole margin piece, and that's getting back to talking about, expenses and managing things, and revenue and expenses, and maintaining a good margin. But the goal is to look at those 5 key elements, and then all the time next year, how do we increase the number of leads, and conversion rate, the number of transactions per customer, the dollar sale per customer. How do we keep growing that year over year over year?
Yeah.
When you start doing those kind of things and being planned and structured around it, that's where you start generating incremental, exponential.
Yeah, you can do
growth.
exponential because there tends to be a bottleneck somewhere. If you can look at the numbers, you'll find where the bottleneck is. Just remove it, and then and then you run into the next one later. Are you familiar with a fellow by the name of Alex Hormozy? He's very big on social media. He's in the kind of business entrepreneurial space. Dude he has something called acquisition.com, right? Went from owning one gym and then turned it into a gym launch business where he was doing that. I think he turned that into a franchise. He might have sold it, whatever. But now what he does is he's like, look, he takes businesses at 3 million and gets them to 30 million so they can partner with him.
So that's, here's something that whether you're a small business or you're just starting a business, or you're a business that is franchised and you've moved on, everybody needs a coach, a mentor, somebody to support you. And that's where he is now. He's got to the point now where he's that coach and mentor for this specific niche of, So, of course, he's getting paid for those services, but having a mentor and a coach, whether it's a small business center, SBTDC, or you hire somebody like that to be your coach, it's really important. We all need somebody that can listen, absorb what we're trying to do, and provide perspective on, because we tend to see things ourselves within ourselves and don't really see how that impacts other things sometimes. And so having a coach and a mentor to help you there, I think is really, really powerful.
Right.
So we talk about planning and all that, leveraging resources in your community, but having somebody that you trust that can be your mentor. I had one for our business for a good 12 years, Rob Gerlach. So he was my coach and mentor, and it helped our business tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
Me personally and the business.
Yeah. Well, but going back to numbers and measuring, Alex says there's two big things you need to know. You need to know acquisition cost of the customer, right? So cost acquisition customer,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And then what that customer's value is, right, over the lifetime of it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I've never quite heard it like that before, right? So when how much does it cost you to get the customer?
Yeah.
And then over the lifetime of that customer, because it depends on how long they stay with you. Nobody stays forever, right? So on average, and that number, he was like, it needs to be 1 to 3, and it's even better if it's 1 to 5, the ratio, right? So it's like the cost is like, this cost gets me 5 times the cost.
And kind of what we first started talking about, knowing those numbers, knowing those metrics. If you know them and you can measure them, it can really take your business to a different level.
Yeah, and if you don't know them, you better find out.
In that case, it's missed opportunity. But yeah, I mean, it's you ought to always be action and solution oriented with your business, which means setting goals, setting objectives, and then putting strategies in place to get there. Right? Mm-hmm. If you don't do those things, then I guarantee you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, you might get lucky maybe, but if you've got, hey, I'm going to double my revenue in 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easy to say.
Yeah, everybody says that.
The what's easy, right? I'm going to increase my revenue by, I'm going to double it, right? The how is the hard part. Mm-hmm. But you need to work on the how stuff, the strategies to get to that doubling of that revenue. So what are those things we can do? Well, we can podcast, and we can do more networking, and we can add different products and solutions, and we can, so we start coming up with ways to make those things happen.
Absolutely.
And that's how you get there.
I'm glad you mentioned networking, because I wanted to touch on that, because oh my goodness, is this town a place where networking is alive and well. And I will say, if you do not have a strong network, it's hard to survive in Wilmington without it, I believe. What are your thoughts on this? Networking,
and more networking. You can never do enough of it. It's inexpensive to do.
It only costs you time.
It costs you time. I mean, there's I guess cost to everything, but connecting in the community, finding people that can be influencers for your business, making connections. I'm a firm advocate that one thing always leads to another. You'll get some information from somebody that enables you to do something with your business. I mean, networking, more networking. You got to put yourself out there. A lot of folks will come into the office and I said, "What's your greatest fear? What's your greatest concern?" Well, I don't like to sell. I don't like to network.
Well, then go be an employee.
So it's going to be really hard for them, right?
Yeah.
So you have to lean into that stuff. Put yourself out there, because as an entrepreneur, that's what you should do. That's just key.
It's a necessity. It's a necessity.
It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy.
Well,
when you go into an event, and there's 500. I was at one last night. There's 500 people there. It's hard. It's stressful, but you got to lean into it.
And I think too, going back to the mentoring thing, if you don't know how to network, get a mentor who can counsel you on that, because it is. When I first joined that first networking group I was in, I loved the community of it. I loved the idea of it. I like the mindset of the people, and I was like, I'm in the right. And like 80% of us were solo operators, so I was like, "Oh, this is a good place for me to be." Right. And I learned a lot from everybody there. However, I didn't really understand how to fully utilize like networking as a. It's not. They have a saying. It's not hunting. It's farming.
Yeah.
It's building the relationships
Yeah.
that over time you can rely on, because everybody's not your customer. So you plant a seed, you water it,
Yeah.
you tend to it.
Yeah, I've get that question a lot. How do you do it? I think you just ask people questions about themselves.
Yeah, well, it's just okay.
I think you walk in, you walk up to somebody and you start asking them questions, and they probably won't shut up then. You start asking them about themselves and where they came from. But you always want your antenna to be up and listening for the cue that gives you that entree into, here's how I can help you, right?
Yeah.
So you find out about them, they're new to the area, they've started this business, and one of their challenges is, I need to find somebody to help us beautify our landscaping or whatever. Well, I just happen to be a landscaper, so here you go, call me.
Or I know a guy.
Or you know a guy, right? So, but it's having it's you're farming it. You're trying to find out more information about them and what they do or why they're there and where they're from, and always being on the lookout for the opportunity for you to pounce on.
Yeah, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. Or can we have another conversation at a later time?
Yeah.
Have a coffee.
Yeah.
I'd like to learn more about what your business is. So I think it is farming. But you got to do as much of it as you can.
Yeah, and look, there is no. I think too, people, they say networking and they kind of have it a misnomer. It's always about the building of relationships. And there are so many places and events. I mean, there's networking groups all over the place. I mean, there's 1 million cups, not necessarily a networking event, but you got a 1 million cups against for free.
It's very much a networking event.
Yeah, and people are just talking and talking and talking.
Yeah, I think it will always go around the room, and new people will introduce themselves, and somebody may introduce themselves that you could help, and that's your entree right there to get involved or engage with them. Or to come and present to the group. I mean, 1 million cups is a fantastic networking opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's that. There's BNI. There's any free seminar that you guys put on. It's going to attract people with a similar interest.
Exactly. We did a seminar the other night, again on record keeping, and there were business cards being passed. Right. So you take advantage of all those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think you're right. I think people make it harder than what it is. You use the term networking, and you're like, oh, I got to talk. It's like, well, you're going to talk to people anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, you go to Starbucks and order a coffee, you're talking to somebody.
That's right.
Why can you do it?
And the more of it you do, the more comfortable you get. So I think leaning into those things, anytime there's something that you're uncomfortable with, lean into it is the advice I'm going to give you. Here's your assignment. Go to a couple of networking events. Go visit a BNI group. Go try it out. Put yourself out there and try it. Yeah,
or if you want a real challenge, you could do this. I know a dude that he went and stood out on the street with a sign, and was like, hey, like for something like free hugs or like, I'll tell you a joke, or something like that, And so you're just talking to random strangers, If you want a real challenge, go and do that.
But again, back to plan. Have a plan. If you're gonna have a networking plan. Have 2 or 3 networking events you want to try to be engaged in. Here's the thing, anything you do, whether it's advertising or investing your time in networking, if you're not getting anything out of it, jettison it and move on to something else. You don't want to keep doing stuff that's not adding value to your business. Right. There needs to be. But you really have to identify what that ROI is, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get leads or customers, are you getting any? If you joined a chamber, some of these things you just have to participate in too. So you can't just join a chamber of commerce
and then everybody's going to give you business.
Yeah. You got to get engaged and go out there and do stuff too, and use that platform to to grow your business. So you got to be intentional about these things. How much do you just a crazy thought in my head here, but how much do you think luck plays a role in this? It's important, yeah. Timing and luck are maybe timing more than anything else. Right. But yeah, I think there is a lot of luck involved, for sure. And you just pray for that, because I don't know how you can improve it. Well, you know what? Who was it? Was it Thomas Jefferson? Well, sometimes you got to make your own luck too. Yeah, you got to put yourself. So again, back to sometimes you just have to put yourself out there and start something. You know, we talk about planning, and I've had people that have been writing a business plan for 5 years now. It's like,
Dude,
you just got to stop.
yeah,
I mean,
you got to go get business.
You got to go do it. And what you don't, so some people fail to do something because they just don't. They don't go out there and do it. And I think that's, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, we can talk about planning and the importance of all those things, and that's the right thing to do, but go do it. Put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Make it, see if you can make something happen here. And because we learn from mistakes. There's no silver bullet to starting and running a business. Sometimes it's trial and error and making mistakes and learning and, taking a step back and moving forward. I think, you just have to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
We've got resources to try to help, but sometimes you just got to go do it.
Yeah, it's there was a book, I forget the author, but the book is called Ready, Fire, Aim. So you just sometimes you just
think about all the Microsoft and Apple. I mean, all started in the back of somebody's garage, right? So they just put themselves out there with what the heck, right? And where are they? I mean, not everybody's going to be an Apple, right? But it's they putting yourself out there first, having that entrepreneurial spirit, and learning.
Let's see. Is there anything? Do we have more? Where's more? There's more. Okay, I knew there was
pages
more.
and pages and pages. We could spend all day.
So we talked about some of the free resources. Is there anything, any one of those free resources here in town that is a standout that we didn't mention that you want to give them a?
I would say they're all standout organizations. Did I leave anybody out? Probably.
No, I don't think so. You got SBDC, SCORE.
Channel is fantastic. Genesis Block Foundation.
Oh, now let's talk about them.
Genesis Block is awesome. Truly, just again, there are tons of resources here to support your business, and we partner with all of them.
Okay. So you guys will counsel people. Is there a mentorship program at the CFCC at the college?
Yeah. So again, our core mission is helping business plans start and grow. We do it a couple ways. One is through the training that we do, our workshops. Last year we did 150 workshops, had over 5,000 attendees. That's just Cape Fear. Now, if you look at it statewide, there's hundreds of programs, and you're out. Anybody can attend any of those. Most of them are webinar based, or a lot of them are, so you can attend them when they're available.
Right.
But we also do offer coaching and mentoring support. So we provide one-on-one counseling support. My goal is to meet people where they are and get them where they need to be. So whether you're just thinking about starting a business, or it's a back of a napkin idea, it really doesn't matter. Wherever you are in your process, we're here to help you, talk you through it. Or if you're ready to start, we can help you get legal, you understand your tax responsibilities, help with a business plan, financial projections, or if you're looking for capital, we can help connect you to those kind of resources and be in a position to put together the loan packaging information that you need, and the plethora of questions that you might have along the process. We're here to try to answer those questions and get you what you need to move forward.
So, about business structure, do you guys? I guess you guys do cover it. Like if somebody comes in and say, "Okay, well, I want to do this," and like you would counsel them about, all right, there's sole prop, there's LLC, there's what's the other one? The one that's
corporation.
Yeah. When you go up from LLC and in partnerships. So, but you would counsel people on that and go, okay, probably what you want to do is this, and what you want to do is this, or sometimes you future-proof it and go, okay, maybe if you're thinking this forehead, you might want to start here now.
So we're not attorneys and we're not accountants, so we can't provide legal advice, but we can provide guidance on helping people understand what the different options are, and offer some recommendations around that, or these are probably some things you should investigate further, but. It really comes down to what the risk is, and whether you're going to operate as a sole proprietorship just under your name, or whether you need to have an LLC or a corporation.
Right. An S corp is what I was thinking
is about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and an S corp is a IRS tax designation. So an LLC can elect to be taxed as an S corp.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A corporation can be can elect to be taxed as an S corp. So there's tax benefits there.
Right.
So we can help answer those kind of questions. But it really comes back to risk, and it depends on the type of business you're in and what you're doing. If it's a risky type of business, then you probably do need to have
you want
that LLC,
at least.
limited liability protection,
Yeah.
or corporation. So that's kind of how we usually view it: is the risk associated with what you're doing. Helping people navigate. We'll give them the steps to take. You need to find a name, get your name, make sure it's not already used, and form a business, and they need to have an EIN number, getting a business bank account, liability insurance. I mean, we help folks to understand the things they should have in place to be foundationally for the business. So yeah, we help with all that stuff.
Good.
So that's helpful. So
yeah.
So what are my steps? A lot of times that's the key question. What do I need to? What are the steps in the process? So we can help.
Right.
Clarify that. Business planning, help them get those things kind of started and working on that, and then access to capital. Do you need money? Where can we go find it?
Yeah, because I remember when I wanted the name, I was searching for the name for my business, and I was like, oh, I hope nobody's got it. No, but it's like the thing is, there's not a lot of people that do what I do still here in town.
Sure.
There's a few more than there were when I first started 10 years ago, but I was like, well, I'm taking it before somebody else gets it. It was like, that's mine,
That's right.
And I went down to where did I go? Had to go. I don't know where it's. Is it the Register of Deeds or some office that you go somewhere and you have to do the paperwork?
Anytime you operate a business in a name other than your name, at a minimum, if you need to register that name.
Yeah.
And you do that through the Register of Deeds office within your county.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. Until I was like, well, I want the name, so I can brand it.
There's a lot to starting a business, and understanding those steps is really critical, and that's the role that we play, is to help kind of demystify that stuff, and then again provide training and resources to help you along the way.
And you guys, there's so much to. I mean, I learned so much. And it is a lot of that it's all if you're the visionary, if you're the idea guy like me, right? Then it's all like, no, you got to have all the paperwork, you got to have all the documents, you got to have all the stuff. And that's all like for the dreamers and for the visionaries, that's all the boring stuff.
People think that's the hard stuff. Really, that is the easy stuff. We're just doing applications and stuff. The hard stuff is that putting that vision into reality. That's going out there and making it happen. And that's where we can also try to help.
I think too that unless I'm sure you've heard this. It's like, be your own boss. It's like, when you're your own boss, you go from working 40 hours a week from somebody else to 60 to 80 working for yourself.
Running a business is hard. If you're going to do it, it's a 24/7 commitment.
It really
you're always
is.
working on it. You're always thinking about it. You're always working on the next thing, and it's not 9 to 5.
No, not at all.
It's not 9 to 5.
But but it suits some people. I mean, I don't know if I could go back and work for the man, as it were, unless it was just a goofy amount of money that I couldn't say no to.
It's very rewarding to have started something and to be successful with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you hire people and you're creating economic opportunity for others, it really is rewarding.
Yeah, and what I do, for me, it's like I really am doing something for the community, right? I'm providing a resource that people can use, and it helps to generally make the community safer, which is I don't know. It sounds weird to say that out loud, but
that's exactly right. 85% of all the businesses in the country have fewer than 4 employees.
I did not know that. I knew it was a big number. I didn't know it was 85%.
Yeah. If you go to less than 10 employees, it's like 95%.
Really?
So it's the small businesses that drive our economy, to your point.
That is I didn't know that. I learned something today.
Yeah.
Well, I learn a lot every time I talk to you. If I can talk to you for a length of time, you're going to talk to this man.
Nothing wrong with the GEs and the Cornings of the world, y'all.
Yeah,
but,
we need
hey,
them. Yeah,
we got to have them. But
and the Duke Powers, I want my lights to work.
But it's small business that drives our local economy. It's small businesses that create jobs. You know, and we're starting them by the hundreds, year over year.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I see him. I mean, you see him obviously because you're there, and
I think
I'm
there's
here.
been like over the last 4 or 5 years, has been over 500,000 businesses started in the state of North Carolina.
Really? Wow.
So think about, if every one of those 500,000 small businesses had minimum revenue of $30,000 generated.
I don't even know what that number is.
It's billions of dollars of economic impact. It's huge. It's a huge number.
Yeah, it's bigger than what I can think in my head right
And
now.
that's why we do what we do. That's why we're here.
Yep.
Is to try to support that and try to do more of it and try to keep those businesses in business longer as possible. So that's what we're trying to do.
All right. The $1 million question, right? If you had one, you could give one piece of advice to somebody just rip roaring ready to go, and that's like, you know, you can only tell them the one thing.
Come see us. Come to the Small Business Center or any of the resources that are in our community, because that's a great place to start, and it's free, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything. We're going to help you, like I say, get through those next steps and know, you know, help you filter through your idea. We got marketing research data. We can do all kinds of things to help. Start with us. Start with us and let us help you. And we'll walk alongside you as long as you need for us to.
Yeah, Jerry.
It's been 10 years, right?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Right. So
I have outlasted all of my haters.
So yes, take advantage of the resources in your community. Okay, that's really important. Have a mentor, have a coach, take classes, sharpen your saw.
Yeah, come to the free events, go to the networking events.
Get different perspectives. You don't have to talk to me. You can talk to me and talk to SCORE and talk to SPTDC and talk to Tracy and Gerard at Genesis Block, at Channel, Shaquem over there. We're all here to try to help you. Getting different perspectives is healthy. We don't have all the answers, but between the multitudes of us, you're going to get the tips and tricks that'll help you take your business to the next level.
Absolutely. Well, Jerry, once again, I thank you.
Yeah, man.
I thank you for coming in, man. I thank you for being patient.
Delighted to be here. Appreciate you.
I absolutely, man, I am absolutely, I really was excited for this. I was telling people, I was like, man, I got Jerry Coleman's guy.
Well, flattered,
Right.
humbled, but again, we love what we do, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience too.
Cape Fear Community College, Small Business Center.
Yeah, come check out our website. We outline all of the services that we have available. Lots of resources there. Maybe we need to add your podcast to one of our links.
Hey, I would love that, man. That'd be great.
But you can register for any of our workshops on our website or request counseling.
Mm-hmm. What's the next thing coming up you got? Next
Oh,
event?
gosh. You asked me.
So it's Friday today, so something next week?
So we got something going on all the time. I can't recall. I know right now we're working on some nonprofit stuff. So if you're looking to start a nonprofit, I think we're doing some classes there.
That's a whole other podcast.
We partner with North Carolina Department of Revenue, so we're always doing workshops on, sales tax and withholding tax and just business taxes in general for the state at the state level. So if you're looking, you're starting a business, you need to learn more about sales tax. Those are really good workshops to take. Those are going on weekly. I'm sorry, I have a hard time keeping up with all of them.
Yeah, just go to the website.
Check out our website and you can see all of them.
Yeah.
And come hang out with us.
Yep, and you won't regret it. There's always something going on. There's a lot of information there, and like you said, just resource upon resource, and knowledge upon knowledge. You've got some of the, people like yourself has been in business, owned a business for years, right? And now have taken that mentor and leadership role to help the younger generation coming
absolutely.
in. Or not, maybe not even younger generation, maybe older people who are retiring, like, what, I want to do something different. But again, always good to see you, man.
Yeah,
and
good to see you too.
We could just keep going on and on, but but Jerry's got to go. I got to go, and we will see you next time at the Business Builder Podcast.
All right.
And peace.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you.